Okay, so it is Monday, July 5th. We're coming off the 4th of July weekend up here in New England. It was beautiful, by the way. It was like 60 degrees and rainy the whole time. I hung shelving in my closets all weekend. Today, I have two guests, Annie Delaney and Bob Boudreau. They're a daughter-father combination. They're the co-founders of a new app called Rayz Kidz. And Rayz Kidz is an app that allows at-home caregivers to be engaged with parents who are working, or allows parents to see what's going on with their kids while they're at the office and people are taking care of their little ones. So Annie, Bob, thanks for being with me today.
Thanks for having us.
Great to be with you, Dave.
And so if you listen to this show on a regular basis, and I hope you do, Bob Boudreau was a guest of mine. Bob, when was it? Last June or so?
Last July, yeah, about the same time last year, yeah.
Unbelievable. So he's back and he has gone into this business venture with Annie. I remember you telling me about this, Bob, maybe it's probably 8 or 9 months ago. You were telling me about Rayz Kidz and this whole idea, but I'm gonna defer to Annie right now and just ask Annie to just kind of tell everybody who's listening what Rayz Kidz is all about and why you created the company.
Sure. So Rayz Kidz is an app to connect parents and caregivers, and not on the sourcing side, but after you found your match, now this is how you keep your relationship. And this is how you can, as a parent, can stay in touch with what's going on at home if you're at work. And it's a way to equip a caregiver to be able to entertain those kids all day. What we wanted to do is take the work out of that sort of lesson planning and activity planning and tee that up for people and provide it right to them. So there's that. And then a parent, it has an enhanced experience with their caregiver by being able to see what's going on during the day. So we have an event log where you can see naps, what they ate, diaper changes. So you can keep in the loop, and that handoff process between when your caregiver starts and when they end and you take back over is seamless. And then we also have photos and videos that can be shared. So we know that caregivers, nannies and au pairs love to take pictures of the kids during the day, as parents do as well. But we want a central place to be able to share those. And so we have a photos and videos element where you can add them, and everyone that is invited can like and comment. So you can invite your extended family as well to participate in that. So my dad is on our account, as are my sisters, my mom, my in-laws. So it's a lot of fun to be able to share that together. And the reason I started it was really to solve my own need. We have an au pair at our house, and we've had her for the last year and a half or so. And I really missed some things from the daycare environment when we were in it. We transitioned to home care after we had our second child. And what we found was with daycare, there were great apps to keep you informed of what was going on during the day. And we were obsessed with those apps. We were on them all the time. They also, at a big daycare center, have a curriculum, and they push that down from the centers. And when you have home care, you're kind of all on your own to find those things. So you're at the mercy of Pinterest and Instagram and Google. And it takes a lot of work to figure out how to create a plan for the day. And so I thought, there must be a place for this. And I couldn't find anything. During COVID, it became even more obvious than it was before. I knew we didn't have that communication tool, but I didn't realize how hard it is to keep kids entertained all day, every day, until I saw it. And so I started to do them myself, and spent a couple hours a week coming up with activities, and said, I can't be the only one going through this. So I created this sort of alpha app to test it, had a bunch of other au pair families try it, and they loved it. And so we went forward with the full app, and we've had some great response from the au pair world, from the nanny world. And parents, grandparents in general have just really seemed to take to the time-saving element of it and that connectedness.
Yeah, well, so activities, updates, and pictures are the primary focus of the app. When I was, and you answered my second question that popped into my head as you were talking, but the activities piece to me seems to be the most important in a lot of ways. I mean, when I think about, I've got 3 kids too. And it is very hard. It's easy to leave them, like sitting somewhere over there, whether it's, watching TV or looking at a phone, and now they're older. But I think that's probably some of what went through your head when you created this whole thing, is how do I keep them busy and how do I take some of the pressure off of the caregiver? There's a lot of mental responsibility trying to keep a kid entertained.
Right. And I think a lot of parents or caregivers end up in a position where it's just too hard. And then what the difference is the kids are doing a lot of free play, and free play is great in many ways. But I personally, as a parent, didn't want free play all day. I wanted some way to have that like supplemental learning benefit of these activities of like fine motor, problem solving, all different cognitive, physical sort of development things that I want for our almost 4 and almost 2-year-olds. And this is a great way to be able to incorporate that in your day.
So Bob, when did Annie come to you with this idea? What was how did that whole thing play out?
Yeah, well, to give you a little more background, probably I'm going to say could have been as long as 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And yeah, I'm going to embarrass her, but I've always admired her. You know, how she thinks, how smart she is. Obviously, she's much more technologically astute than I'll ever be. I'm a real cretin with this. So
I don't believe that, Bob.
I probably didn't really know too much what an app was until we decided to do this. But I kind of put the bug in her ear years ago. I said, geez, wouldn't it be great if we could ever do a business together? So we just, casually kept those conversations going. She had come up with this idea of an app for healthcare, for caregiving for kids. And as she was outlining it to me, I'm saying, geez, I think you got something here. We're in, obviously in the pandemic, so the world was changing, and trying to pay attention to what the world would look like when we came out the other end. So when she mentioned she went off and bought this alpha little thing to play with here, that she actually built her own website app. I'm sorry, and I was just amazed that she could do all this with a lot of the features she's already talked about. It wasn't a robust platform that you can have X amount of people on it, but it gave us a chance to play with it, see it, test it. And so come last fall, I said, let's do this. Let's do this. So in December, we incorporated as an LLC in Massachusetts, and hired that they had already scoped out a software developer out of California. And you launched an app in 4 months. That's really pretty cool. We got more things to do with it. We look for this to continue to evolve. We're learning a ton. I know I am. I'm sure Annie is as well. And so it's been great. A little bit of a long story about how it all came to be.
I got plenty of tape. We can record for hours, Bob. It's okay. You can keep going. The interesting part about the so often technology kind of as great as it is at connecting us, it's divided us in a lot of ways. But in this case, it feels like it's intended purely to connect and interact and provide structure. It's really cool. On your end, Annie, 5 years ago, you started to think about this idea. Pandemic hits last year. You launch kind of in the middle of it. How different are your thoughts now about your idea compared to, say, what they were 5 years ago?
Yeah, I think we've all learned a lot in the pandemic. And one thing that has been shined a light very brightly on is how important childcare is to the functioning of our society, our economy. And there's been a lot of talk about how do we support people in the childcare space? How do we support parents? Childcare is expensive, very expensive. And but on the same side, caregivers don't feel like they're paid enough. And so, because it's a significant burden for the parents, but when you think of that as someone's full-time pay, there's can be some friction there. And I think just as a society, and especially in the United States, we need to think differently about our childcare and how we're supporting people. 700,000 people with the working parents of kids aged 5 and under left the workforce during the pandemic in the US. And that is a staggering number. And it just shows how vulnerable that population is of people with young children. And so when we think about the app, we think that this is a way to be able to better support people. Companies are looking at how do we support our employees to make sure that they can be engaged and focused at work. If you don't have good childcare, it is so hard to be a great employee. I feel like I can thrive at work when I know that everything is taken care of at home and I don't have to worry about that. I feel confident in the care that I have. I can be a better employee. And so companies are looking for ways to do that. And, peace of mind is what we bring as part of this app to say, we know what's going on at home. We can improve our childcare at home by providing this app to people. But the pandemic has just shown how important that peace of mind is for parents and the resources for parents to have great care at home.
It's kind of echoing that a little bit. When you think about, as a parent, my daughters are all older now, but, you focus so much, at least back in my day, say, are they going to have a good teacher, when they enter school, and everybody scopes out who's the best teacher, and you try to get your name, you start to play the game, can I get my kid with the best teacher? But, well before that, from 0 to 5 or 0 to 6 years old, okay, who's their teacher? Who's the person that's helping your child evolve, mature? What are they learning? Certainly, and even parents aren't always that equipped, to do, especially if you're a new parent. You learn as you go. A gazillion books out there, but a lot of it you just got to learn on the job. So, with Rayz Kidz, as Andy's thoughts with this is, how can we make that not only just communicating with your child care provider, but also make it more enriching for the mom and dad. They know beyond just the activities, the things that we're going to be looking to add to this is, how do you make sure your child's safe? Does your caregiver know the safety routines as far as choking and what they can eat? So there's a lot involved here, but also it's an education for the parents. So a lot of parents don't know this stuff. And,
so there's a safety component. You give it, like, there's advice and things on that as well.
It's not there yet. That's one of the features that we're looking to add to it
Cool.
in the next coming months. But it's not going to be a full, but it gives you tips. It gives you things to be aware of, and then hopefully, hopefully you're using it with the child caregiver, is that you're asking them to learn those as well. You don't wait for something to happen. Let's spend some time on the app to learn those type of things. So again, that's something that's to come, but that's where we're going to be evolving to as part of this.
So you have an idea what I do, Bob. You and I work together for a bit, but so I work with all different kinds of companies. And one of the things, I run a CEO group as well. And one of the things that keeps coming up in the group is this whole, how do we get people back to work thing?
Right. Yeah.
And I work with some who say, nope, we can be completely remote. I don't need anyone in the office. I've got others that say, no, I want everyone back. And then there's the people in the middle. Most of them are in the middle. Yeah. But the resistance that they're getting from a lot of people, even some of their higher level people, are, no, I don't want to come back. And some of them are using childcare as an excuse. Others just feel like I'm more productive at home. How have you already started to approach companies and offer this as a resource to those that have people with families, with children, where this becomes something that the company makes available?
Yeah, we've had some initial conversations just to float the idea and say, what's the general interest? And immediately it was, we would cover that for our employees. It's a way to be able to set themselves apart from competitors and provide a benefit that's not directly, there's only so much competition you can have on salary. And so benefits is one way the companies look to differentiate themselves to their employees, especially if they really care about the talent. And it was immediately, let us know when it's ready. And so we want to have the full package ready, which should be sometime like mid-August, end of August, to be able to launch with companies. But at this point, we're very confident that it's a way to be able to sell to people and make their employees comfortable with coming back. I mean, I personally have gotten really comfortable being at home and not having to worry about my caregiver being completely all set because I'm just one door away. We want people to feel confident in the care that they have so that they can enable themselves to get back to normal and be able to go out and but enjoy that childcare experience and still feel like a part of it, even if you're not right there.
Yeah, and I don't know if this was your intention going into it, but just the accountability, even there's the structure and tools offered to the caregiver, but there's also accountability in that we're expecting you to use this thing, right? I mean, last year I saw, 3 kids go through, online learning, virtual learning, and some teachers were better than others. Some teachers were actively engaged and, going back and forth with the kids, and others were, here's the assignment, we'll see you tomorrow, and the kids on their own. Mm-hmm. So, you're also relying on the quality and attentiveness of the caregiver to actually leverage the app. So I would assume there's some sort of accountability there, right?
Right, absolutely. And what we want is for every nanny who uses the app to know that all high quality nannies use this app. And that if you're not an experienced seasoned nanny, you can become an element of that by using this as a tool and resource. We can, you don't have to have a ton of experience to be able to provide the same sort of care that a lot of others do. Of course, there's many other facets of it that make a great caregiver. But we want to provide, at least that basic set of tools that get you to that next level. And so the quality of care we expect to be different when using the app as compared to not.
So I assume you're using the app as you've got 2 kids, you said 4 and 2.
Yeah.
And so you created the thing, mm-hmm. and you're using it, and that's got to be intimidating to anybody that you hire to help you out.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh my goodness, she's in the other room.
You get the founder, yeah.
Yeah, sitting right there. What have you observed as a user of the app?
Yeah. So the key to getting value out of the app is having your caregiver use it, your nanny or au pair use it. And so part of our job is training them to make sure that they're prepared to use it. And that was one thing that I found was that on days where I think you also have to set the expectation of it. As a parent, you have to say, this is something that I want you to be using. Like I get value out of it, and I see it to be easier for you to do your job because these are my expectations. Just like any conversation with an employee, you have to set expectations of what you're looking for. But I've been very cognizant of how our au pair's name is Bruna, how long it takes Bruna to do certain things with the app, because we want the experience to be that you're using it frequently, but in very small chunks. Because I, as a parent, don't want her on her phone all day. I want her with my kids. And so I've been very specific in how I designed it to make it so that she doesn't have to be on her phone a lot. She's on it frequently, but in very small chunks. It's a 2-step process to log an event. It's very simple directions of how to follow an activity. And so it's been such a wonderful thing to be able to use it live. And I make changes plenty often based on her feedback, based on my observations for it. So no better way to design it than actually being a user myself.
Yeah. Well, plus also make the activities easier for whoever's providing those to the kids. You get a whole materials list, and a lot of it's trying to find, you already have household products there, so to speak. There are certainly things, but you have enough advance warning, advance notice rather, that, here's the activities we're recommending for this week, but you also have the bank to choose from of all the activities so you don't lose them after the week goes by. Usually there's a theme that Annie creates for that week. For this week is campers. So it's, activities that fall in line with that, and to different levels, of difficulty, depends on where your child is in there. But, Dave, back to what you said about the businesses. Yeah, I think most people are most companies or CEOs are in the middle. I think it's going to be a long time before you see most people come back full time, but they want them back a few days a week. And I think people want to come back a few days a week. If you're not happy at home, you don't feel comfortable, you're not going to be happy at work, and vice versa. So how do we find that balance? It's just a balance of enjoyment. I mean, anybody who just thinks about benefits as being, health insurance and life insurance and AD&D and short-term disability, I mean, you live in the cave. So what are the other things you can bring to your employee base, that say, hey, we're here to help. We want you to be happy. We want you to feel fulfilled. And it can't just be, okay, Thursday afternoon, let's get the keg going, the thing. I think I'm not saying that, trust me, I like a beer like anybody. Trust me, there's Annie who will smile at that. But
so wait a minute, the beer on Thursday afternoon is not an activity on the app.
It's funny, like when the kids when they're growing up, and their friends as they got of age, they say, well, I want to get your dad something. What kind of beer does he drink? And they just go cold. As long as it's cold. So, but yeah, as I see this, hopefully for corporations, they see it, and it's only been a small sample. Yeah, when you guys get this ready, let's talk. because it is, for the price point especially, it's not that expensive. But if you can help the employees, and some employees may be thinking, I never thought this way, do you want the moms and dads that are working there on their phone checking out photos and stuff like that? I say yeah. I want to make, I don't look at the, it's 9 to 5 and you just put your head to the grindstone and you don't talk about personal stuff. Your life is all intermingled, work, life, and certainly last year has been that. So yeah, I want I'm more than okay that they're checking up on their kids and that seeing how they're doing and communicating with the caregiver. And then they go back and they feel, I think you see productivity and engagement just flourish under that. So, they realize that you're supportive of it.
I like what Annie said though, because the way you designed it is not in a way where they're completely glued to the phone. It's quick. It's, there's quick updates and then there's a lot of space to go do something.
Yep.
So I would think that the parents that are working are conditioned to be that way as well. It's like they know there's space in between the check-ins.
Right.
There was something else you said, Annie, and now I'm blanking on where I wanted to go with it. But it was on the. You triggered a thought. You didn't say it, but I do a fair amount of work with organizations that require background checks and Corey checks for the people that they employ. Do you envision that being available on the app at some point for caregivers?
There are already a lot of services out there, so I'm not sure that. So the places in childcare that are pretty well covered are sourcing. You have care.com, you have a lot of agencies. So we don't really want to play in that space. We'd like to be post-sourcing. And then along with the sourcing process goes the background checks and then goes the payroll services. There's already a lot of people in that space. So we see ourselves partnering with them and make sure that it's accessible for people and that they know that we have some pre-vetted ones that we endorse. But we probably won't play in that space ourselves. We want to be as much in the, after you've made your match space as we can.
Cool. So here I have a question for you. I know this is the first business you've started. I know that. But the work I do on a regular basis, especially over the last year, I've run into so many people that are at a crossroads in their lives and in their careers. And so many have come to me over the last year, basically saying, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know if I want to continue to do this anymore. I got to get out of here. They don't know how. And then the pandemic has become either a reason to get out or a reason to hold on even tighter. Now they're even more nervous. But you took a chance on an idea that you had 5 years ago during a time when many, many people have just frozen. And they haven't redefined themselves yet. So what was that like? I know you haven't started a business until now, but you did it during a time where a lot of people would say, now's not the time.
Right. I know so many people are struggling with job security issues and that is a very challenging thing to get over. I had to really, partner with my husband on that and make sure that we're both okay taking some sacrifices. Fortunately, and I'm in a very privileged position where I can do that. So he has a steady job, and so I fully recognize that if I didn't have that, this would be almost insurmountable. I tried to do both at the same time, continuing to work and do this on the side, but I was getting very little sleep and felt like I was, not excelling, and that wasn't what I wanted to bring to that position, to this. And so it came to a point when we had to make a call. It's one or the other. And but that decision point was probably the hardest part of this whole thing. Once they said go, we're in go mode, and there are certainly challenges as part of that, but you're in it and you've made that decision already. But making that decision was incredibly difficult and vulnerable and nerve-wracking, and it was hard even telling friends and family that this is what we want to do, because you open yourselves up to so much judgment to say, are you sure? And you're putting your baby out there to say for everyone's opinion of whether that would be successful or not, when they really don't have the full context of it. So that was a challenging period, but I'm so thankful that I did go with that, because I would rather do something that is fulfilling and challenging, even if the financial rewards aren't there right away. It's just part of the journey.
My first year in business was, and I've wanted to be on my own for a long, long time, but it took me a long time to make that decision. And as much as I wanted to do it, that first year I had like stomach aches, like, what am I doing? Doubts or, questions. But what always kept me back was I believe in what I'm doing. I believe in what I'm doing, and I don't want to do it like anybody else does it. Right. What keeps you going? Because there's no way you can't have doubts at times, right? You have to have them.
Right.
What keeps you going?
Well, I mean, one thing that's settling is that I'm not the first person to start a company. And there are a lot of books out there and other people who are like, that first year is just an emotional roller coaster. And even post the first year, it can just be an emotional roller coaster. So I'm comforted in the fact that I'm not alone in it. And I can look to other people's stories to say, okay, well, how did they do it? How did they get out of it? But absolutely the thing that keeps me going is my kids. And the fact that it's a company that's based on helping children and because at the end of the day, this is what it's all about, is making it a great experience for your kids. We all want great care for our kids. And then it makes us better as parents to be able to go and do other things when they know that they're well taken care of. And I see it every single day. And there's other things that I want to add to the app because I'm like, I think it could be better because of this. But it absolutely is my kids that I know will be the end beneficiary of it.
Yeah. So your dad, on one level, he uses this phrase all the time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And he's sitting there in his rocking chair. It's not a rocking chair, but I'm going to call it a rocking chair. And he's telling you it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Everything's fine. Do you ever want to go grab them? I want things to happen now.
Oh yeah, I say, Dad, I know I can come across very intense, and he says, yes, you can.
Bob, what's your take? How do you keep, you're coming from such a different perspective, right? You've been doing this a while. You ran a successful company. You're at a point in your life. You're in pretty good shape here, and so you're watching Annie, and you could probably see things that she can't right now. And you want her to be patient, and yet she wants you to maybe no, move faster. Yeah. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, well, it's certainly as first she was my daughter first, besides before being a business partner. So I have a little background. I know how she's built. I know I think I know how she thinks. Have I seen her in action? Up close and personal before this? No, I didn't know what her day was like at work when she was working. And as she said, she can be a bit intense, but I always appreciate that. When people, back in the day, you had people that were, and I wouldn't call Annie high maintenance, by the way, but people who were just driven and boom, and people, they're exhausting to manage. I go, I'll take them any day. Versus you got to let a firecracker up somebody's butt to get them going, So I'll take that as a problem to kind of pull somebody down a little bit. And and she's heard these sayings from me, and Dave, you and I thought, mistakes are life's greatest learning tool. So let's go. We're not going to be perfect. I think I said that right at the beginning. I got to tell you one thing I do know: we won't be perfect at this. So for me, I'm certainly not trying to slow it down. I'm just trying to put it in perspective. Let's keep reminding ourselves where we have come from. We've been in business for 6 months, since we went live on it. In some ways, I'm sure it's been 6 years. We do see there's a lot of legs to this thing beyond just being, I feel, kids from 1 to 5 years old. We see things this product can evolve into beyond that. But we got to learn a lot from this one. And so it's been, I think we've only had like one work fight so far, so that's okay.
And Annie won that one, right?
We didn't agree on something. I said, okay, you tell me what you think. And sometimes I'm not going to say that I certainly don't know everything. I'm far from it. I said, okay, let's go run with it. Yeah, I may. Maybe I should stop this, but no, if I stop it, then we won't learn. A funny story there. She said, she calls me on Friday morning, how long ago it was, and maybe over a month ago. Hey, Dad, we found this conference for this Nannies Association, and the sponsorship is this. And I go, oh, okay. Well, that one's gone. I go, okay, thank you. And so the next level, and it was $5,000 with the ones. And she goes, what do you think? And she sent me the stuff. I said, well, and she was talking to the person that morning at 11. I said, let's find out. It looks good to me. This is one of the channels we're pursuing in the nanny world here, of course. And then I get a note, because we use the company American Express. I get a note. Your card was just used and it probably wasn't present. And I go, and then she calls me like 30 seconds later. I go, yeah, you already spent the money. I found it. So are you okay with it? I go, yeah, of course I'm okay with it. You got, the old saying, if you don't spend it, you don't make it. So, so there's a little bit of that. When I say the risk taking financially, not everything's gonna pop up, and I'm trying to get her to understand that everything we spend won't turn to immediate ROI, but if we didn't spend it, we wouldn't have learned this. So to me, it's all about the learning. It's all about trying to. I'm not slowing the pace down, but she hears me. What did we learn this week? What did we learn? And let's take that. Let's look at that. That was all worth the exercise.
And the thing I'll say to that, and Annie, I think you'll look back on this and probably relate, is that your customers and the market is incredibly forgiving. Like you don't have to be perfect. You can actually tell them, we're trying this, or we're trying to create that. We're not sure if this is going to work, and they'll embrace that genuine honesty. And it's liberating when you don't feel like you have to be perfect. I remember when I first started, I didn't have anything. I didn't have a website, and I had no materials, and companies were buying stuff. And I would literally say to them, I don't have anything yet, but this is what it will look like. And I'd have to go make it for them. And they still were okay with it, because they knew I believed in what I was doing. And they trusted me enough to do it. And so I think that, so much of you being a genuine person is what will carry you through these first couple of years. And I don't want to be an old man preaching to you or anything, but I think that.
No.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I think we have to get something out there. And what our job is, and what I've been trying to do, is communicate our mission as much as we can. And people take to that and say, without ever seeing the product. So when I have meetings with agencies, with other partners that we're potentially looking at, I don't even actually show them the app yet. We have videos that can show that, but I just talk to what our mission is and what our features are, the benefits, and people get it, and then right away, and the thing that is most beneficial for us is having something out there so we can get that feedback. That feedback has been gold, not necessarily just on if there's something that's clunky for a minute, we go fix that, which is great, but more about, hey, is there a way that I could communicate my au pair schedule through this? That's something that I could find really valuable. I'm like, yep. And Justin, let's tee this up. Okay, I'd like it designed this way, and we can react really quickly, being small and looking at what does the market really want out of this.
Excellent. All right, I'll give you just a couple more questions, and we'll wrap up. I know you guys have other things to do today. So, a year from now, what if we're talking in 1 year? What's happening in the company then that is going to cause you to say, we're doing good, we're doing a good job?
Yeah, I mean, you can obviously look at numbers of users, but really what we think is engagement. How often are people actually using it? And is it a parent and a caregiver that are on there? Are they logging events? Are they adding photos? Is there activity? So that engagement is going to be a big number for us that we continue to look at. And then also one thing that we're looking to stand up soon is a program with nannies to become a Rayz Kidz expert and use that. And I think that's a leading indicator for us of how this is viewed in the market. What we want is for every high quality nanny to use the app, and every nanny that uses the app to be high quality. And so when we're going through and looking to make sure that they're prepared for that, we want to train them. And so the numbers that we'll be looking at there are how many nannies do we have trained as part of this. And then obviously our partnerships, we're looking to continue to grow to be a part of the nanny and au pair communities. There's an established industry there, and we think we can be a great partner as part of that. And so those relationships mean a lot to us. So those are the three things I would look toward.
Excellent. It just sparks three more questions, but I'm not going to ask them. Bob, did I just cut you off?
No, I was just going to say, we really look at this, 3 channels, distribution channels or revenue channels here. The one is where we started out is kind of, I call it the retail market. is get it out there. We're on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook, and try to tap into the parent communities and that to feel that they download it. That sort of got us present, but it really became apparent quickly that the nanny market is really the next thing, because those are the ones that we feel are going to be and that's the ones we can learn the most from too. Because they've been, some of them are career nannies, and they'll give us some of the best feedback there as far as what they like, what they're using. We can find, and then the other one, as we talked about, is the corporate channel. But the nanny one, the au pair market, will be really kind of the host, I think, here, and will become better for the other two channels because of that. But we pivoted quickly. We're only a few months into it. So okay, boom. And then anything I just mentioned, the story about being the sponsor, that it couldn't have come at a better time. As far as the timing of the conference down in Florida, it's September, and boy, there's nothing like when you can work towards an event, because it makes you get all the other stuff done. And not that we weren't, certainly Andy is working very hard with Justin and others there to get the product moving, but there's nothing like having something, okay, we got a day, we can't change that day, and we got to be ready for that, and so what can we do to prepare so when they show up down there, okay, this thing is, it's viable, it's working, here's the feedback, here's the new features we have, we're ready to go. So we kind of look at September being our real coming out party. We're out there kind of walking, but hopefully we'll start to run after that. But we'll see. Well, we don't know. Hopefully it'll be received well. We think it will be, but if it doesn't, then we say, okay, what more do we need to do? There'll always be more to do. But again, very serendipitous that this conference came up timing wise in our evolution when it did. So
it's very, very cool stuff. So just to recap, we can access or download the app on Apple and Google. Rayz Kidz, Apple. What does it cost?
So there is a free version. So the free version, anybody can download, play around with it, and you can access some of the activities, just not the full set of them, and the event log, and then limited storage space on photos and videos, 2 gigabytes. And then if you buy the premium subscription, which a parent is the one to go through and purchase that, and then grant access to their other caregivers and parents that are associated with their account, that costs $15 a month or $165 per year. Yep.
Very reasonable. Very reasonable. Very cool. All right. I'll give you both the last word. What did we not cover?
Annie, what do you got?
I think we got to a lot of it. I mean, I just hope that parents can check this out and also encourage their caregivers. I think that it's a really wonderful tool to be able to elevate your childcare, to feel confident in your childcare. And I so appreciate the platform that you've given us too, Dave. So thank you for the time.
You're very welcome. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking to you, and Bob, it's always nice seeing you. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Best of luck.
Well, Dave, I think we do. We have to put a date in the calendar for next July, because you asked, what will this thing look like a year from now? Well, we'll come back a year from now. We'll tell you what we've learned.
All right. Let's, as soon as I hit stop, we'll put it in the calendar and we'll revisit it. I'm happy to do it. So hold on a second, guys. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your summer.
Thank you too.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Dave.